Okay guys, Dave Seminar, the Mad Traveler. I'm in beautiful Tiradentes, Brazil this morning in Minas Gerais state. This town has one of the best name origins. I think it's named after a Brazilian revolutionary, and the name Tiradentes means tooth puller. But anyways, what I want to talk to you guys today about is what is it like to take a road trip in Brazil right now, summer of 2020. I want to tell you a little about road conditions. If you've never driven in Brazil before, I'm going to tell you a bit about what that's like, and also about sort of the general state of tourism here. Do you have to wear a mask? As I'm saying this, I'm passing a car full of people here who are all masked. Do you have to wear a mask? What is it like to travel during the pandemic in Brazil and such? So first of all, let's start out with what I am doing. This is about a 12 or 13 day trip we're taking with my family, wife and 2 kids, the other Mad Travelers. And we started in Rio. We spent 3 nights in Rio. Then we drove about 4 hours to the south and west to Paraty, which is a beautiful UNESCO World Heritage Site. You're going to see some other videos on my channel about that as well if you haven't already. So went to Paraty, and then we went up to a spa town called Caxambu, which was 4 harrowing hours, and then up from Caxambu to where we are now, which is Tiradentes, 3 more hours, and then from Tiradentes up to Ouro Preto, which is another UNESCO World Heritage Site, 3 more hours from there, then down to a town called Petropolis, which is the old colonial capital, royal residence, summer residence, or retreat I should say, which is an hour north of Rio, and then back to Rio and flying to Buenos Aires from there. But so that's sort of a clockwise trip, a big sort of circle that we're making. In any case, so far, first of all, road conditions. The drive from Rio to Paraty, as I said, it was 4.5 hours, something in that range. There was a bit of traffic, but not too bad. Mostly 2 lanes in each direction, so you wouldn't be stuck behind trucks too much, and it was very beautiful. I mean, I would say like the second half of it especially was absolutely beautiful. We did have getting out of Rio was a bit harrowing. Renting the car was a complete pain. I'll tell you, you think you're going to rent a car from like an American chain and it's going to be like it is in the States. No, it definitely isn't. It's always an adventure renting a car overseas, but I think this was my longest rental car experience ever. I rented from the Enterprise Rent-A-Car in Copacabana, which I do not recommend at all. I rented a mid-size SUV and they gave me a little French clunker basically, and it took about 2 hours to get it, so that was rough. Getting out of Rio was a pain, but once you got out of there, the drive was very pretty and the road conditions were pretty good throughout to Paraty. Now, Paraty to Caxambu, now that was a different story. Climbing up into the mountains. The first hour, I would say, of that trip was harrowing. It really was. It was like, first of all, the condition of the road was not great, but also just speed bumps everywhere as there are in Brazil. You're going slaloming around corners, up into the mountains. And then for the first hour or so, then it got okay for a little while. Then the last 2 hours of the trip, I was caught behind, trucks going 20 kilometers per hour for seemingly the entire time. Man, I was exhausted by the time we got to Caxambu, and thank God it's a spa town, so I treated myself to massages and a little spa morning, which was great at the historic spa that they have there. So that was really nice. So then yesterday, we spent 1 night in Caxambu, which is about what I would recommend. It's a small town, not a ton to see there. So then after that, yesterday we drove here to Tiradentes, which was, what did I say? I think it was also 4, no, wait, was it 3 hours? Yeah, it was a little more than 3 hours. 3.5, I'm gonna say 3.5 in that range. And for the first hour and a half, I was like, wow, this is paradise. It was a Monday, nobody on the road condition was really good. Then I would say like about an hour and a half out, about an hour and a half away from this town, Tiradentes. Wow, the road deteriorated like crazy. Very bad conditions, just absolute craters, not just potholes in the road, but absolute craters. Thought we were going to destroy the rental car a few times. Also, general thing about driving in Brazil, there's speed cameras all over the place. All over the place. It's like a police state. Believe me, it's awful. But the good news is usually there is a sign warning you that the speed camera is coming up. So you'll see those and then you have a chance to slow down. So you got that going for you. The speed bumps are usually, painted yellow on top. Usually, not always. I've gone a few times, just absolutely flew over a few speed bumps and again thought I was going to destroy the car. Hopefully Enterprise Rent-A-Car is not listening to my video. So it's Is it easy driving around Brazil? No. If you're used to driving around the US, it is kind of annoying, to be honest with you, for the most part. So far, that's my impression. However, it's not terrible. It's not impossible by any stretch of the imagination. I've driven in other countries where the roads are much worse. So would I rent a car again? Probably, because I don't want to take buses around all these towns, especially with my kids. I hate taking buses. I'm a train guy, I'm a boat guy, I'm a car guy, not a bus guy. In any event, so that's that as far as road conditions and such so far in our itinerary. I also want to mention sort of the general state of tourism. I'm going to walk away because somebody's hammering something. General state of tourism in Brazil at the moment. Yeah, I am walking down the middle of the street, by the way, too. It's 7 a.m. and there's hardly anybody out. It's a small town. So I will move if I see somebody coming here in the review. But general state of tourism in Brazil. It's an interesting time to be in Brazil. The good news is, for somebody like myself, I do not wear masks, at least not much unless I'm required to. I have not been required to wear a mask anywhere in Brazil so far, which makes me very happy. Go ahead and critique me in the comment section, I don't care. No masks, have not had to wear a mask anywhere in Brazil. Are there people wearing masks? There are. I would say they're in the minority. And there are some people who are continuing to wear masks, even outside, even when they're out in rural areas. You see somebody out for a hike somewhere in the middle of nowhere by themselves, outdoors, hiking with a mask on. God bless them, they want to do that. Terrific. Thankfully, it's not required. So that's that about masks. Generally, I would say that the crowds are down here. Tourism numbers, certainly international, are down. However, that doesn't mean there's no tourists here. It's definitely Brazilian tourists. And so this is a big country, like around 200 million people in that range. So you have a significant domestic tourism industry. And I think a lot of Brazilians who would ordinarily be going to Florida and other different places are now staying home and doing things in Brazil. So for example, in Rio, we went to Christ the Redeemer. Oh my goodness. You'll see my videos from that, but it was nuts. We went to Sugarloaf Mountain in Rio. Nuts. Paraty on the weekend. Very crowded, but again, I don't hear a lot of other languages being spoken. So these folks are either from Brazil or Portugal, or I don't think they're from a couple of the African countries. I don't think they're from Angola or the other Portuguese colonies in Africa. So yeah, I would say that it's a great time to visit Brazil, especially it feels a little more authentic, I would say, too, in places, because when you go to some touristic site as an American and you just see all other Americans around or other people speaking English, you feel like, okay, where have I come, where have I arrived to? But here you come to Brazil now at this time, and you're gonna hear Portuguese. And if you do not speak any Portuguese, I highly recommend learning some. Many good videos here on YouTube for that. Learn some basic phrases in Portuguese and have Google Translate ready on your phone, because there are not a lot of people speaking English, at least in the towns we've been to so far. You do find, definitely people who are more highly educated speaking English. However, those sort of people are not going to be your waiter or waitress, and they're not working in hotels and a lot of other places. The tourism industry workers generally do not speak English in most of the places we have been so far. So that's it, folks. Little wrap up. Really enjoying my trip here so far. Love Brazil. Loving this place. Can't wait to continue traveling around Brazil on this great road trip.